Hi, I'm Rob Mikkelsen. I'm the Director of Agronomic Services for Yara in North America, and I'm glad to spend a few minutes with you today to talk about this important and interesting topic. How do we promote root health with proper plant nutrition? Since it's a complex topic, I've decided to break it into several shorter videos, and today let's talk about what influences root activity. As I started to put this presentation together, I was struck with this question. Do nutrients influence roots, or do roots influence nutrients? There are so many two-way interactions going on that both of these statements are true, and we don't have time to go into the details today, but it's really interesting to think about these interactions, and we'll talk about this more in the future. Roots are still too often what I like to call the hidden half of agriculture. It's so easy for me to drive by a farm or walk through a field to get a sense of how the crop is doing, but I can totally overlook the half of the plant that is below the ground. You really never know what's going on without taking a look. So I hope everyone has a shovel or a spade in the back of their car or truck so you can take a peek at what's really happening below the ground. Roots are really complex structures. I like to remember the importance of root hairs, especially for water and nutrient uptake. I often explain how calcium is only taken into plants at the root tips, the very young part of the root that's pushing and continually extending into the soil, in that area before the root cells become mature and they harden off further back up the root. With this limited zone of calcium uptake only at the tip, just as an example, we can see how important it is for roots to be healthy and for those tips to continually explore new zones in the soil. I sort of like this picture from over 100 years ago that showed the process of nutrient uptake. It's represented as nutrients being delivered by trains through the roots and then being transported to the factories up into the leaves where the sugars are made through photosynthesis. Well, we have learned a lot since then that the processes of uptake and nutrient assimilation are quite complicated and detailed. We know that roots are continually bathed in this complex chemical solution in the soil, and that roots can respond rapidly to changes in their environment. As we look at these delicate root hairs on corn, I'm amazed at the sophistication of the processes of nutrient and water uptake. So what we're trying to do is optimize the health of these delicate root structures by maintaining a healthy soil environment. Now there's so many things that can influence root health. Soil conditions that directly influence overall plant health. In many parts of North America, soil acidity is one of the largest drags on crop yield. Soluble aluminum is toxic to roots, and the root growth for most of our common crops becomes stunted at low soil pH. Luckily, it's pretty easy to fix soil acidity with proper applications of limestone. Another condition that can damage roots is soil salinity. Excess salt causes water stress to the plant, and that drags down plant performance. I think you can easily guess the factor that's restricting roots here. That's right, soil compaction. This tree is struggling to keep roots growing in a very challenging urban environment of a parking lot. But for a more crop-focused example, you can easily see the difference in root growth when corn is growing in soil with 3 different degrees of compaction. When the corn growing in the compact soil on the far right, they just can't penetrate that dense, compact soil in order to extract the water and nutrients at the deeper depths. Roots exert pressure to force their way through pores in the soil, but if the resistance is too great, they just can't make it and their normal root growth stops. Here's just a few more things that influence root health. It's not an exhaustive list, but it shows that roots have to cope with many stresses in the soil. At least we can take away one of the most common stresses by providing good crop nutrition, giving those tender roots the best opportunity for growth and success. The linkage between root health and nutrient uptake is critical, and we'll go deeper into this topic in an upcoming video. But these tiny root hairs are where the action is for most of the root activity. In addition to root hairs, another key region we often talk about is the rhizosphere. This is the zone surrounding the roots. It extends beyond the root for about the thickness of a dime or maybe a couple of pennies. The plant exudes sugars and organic acids and all kinds of organic materials that trigger an explosion of biological activity within this tiny, thin rhizosphere zone that we'll talk about in a future time as well. So in summary, there's an inescapable link between crop health and root health. We need to remember there are so many factors that influence root health, including chemical, physical, and biological properties of the soil. It's not always possible to remove all of the factors that hold back root health, but we certainly can eliminate the reduction in root health that results from poor crop nutrition. So in our next video, we'll dive a bit deeper into the direct impacts of specific plant nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium on root health, and how that is an essential link to overall plant health and plant productivity. Thank you.